Greetings, fellow seekers of the unknown, and welcome everyone to the first ever episode of Portal to Another Dimension podcast, and you've just stepped into the portal. I'm Drago Reid, your host and formidable navigator through the cosmic mysteries that lie beyond the depths of our understanding and the uncharted and unexplored territories of truth. So sit back and enjoy the ride as I peel the veil of reality, where each episode becomes your portal to unlocking forbidden knowledge, the secrets within, and the keys to awakening that lie dormant within you. Buckle up, my friends, because everything you thought you knew will change from this moment on, and as I unravel and unweave the threads to the cosmic play and this convoluted multiverse. Welcome to Humans 2.0. Welcome to the new reality. Now, before we deep dive into the depths of the cosmos and I introduce my first guest, let me share the genesis of why I created this podcast. While being a truth and consciousness seeker most of my life, this has unfortunately made me a target from the government, as I'm the result of an illegal and unacknowledged government programs. Through the power of my voice, they've shadow banned me, deplatformed me, and deleted me so many times that no matter what they do, I always come back with a vengeance, and I will no longer be silenced. Stepping forward like this comes with its dangers and risks, including death. I will no longer live in fear and stand idly by as I watch the world implode on itself, as truthers like me are vanished faster than the blink of an eye with a simple push of a keystroke from behind a computer or the echo of a 45. My two near-death experiences and out-of-body journeys, triggered by a violent motorcycle crash hitting a wall 120 miles per hour and another car crash totaling my Honda S2000 drift car, resulted in severe brain damage, many broken bones, an illegal diagnosis of traumatic brain injury, post-amnesic disorder, with retrograde amnesia and a form of savant syndrome, with which inadvertently rewired my neurons and axons in my brain, and as a result of that head trauma, fortuitously gave me unexpected side effects involving numerous cognitive upgrades, a dramatic boost in IQ, clear cognizance, and a unique ability to perceive time in slow motion, allowing me to see over 200 frames per second at any given time, while the average person accesses only 24 to 60 frames per second. With this superpower and newly found faculty, I can see and process time faster than 99% of the entire planet, as evidenced in my neuropsychological evaluation test, proving these abilities on record. That means I can see what others cannot, embedded codes and patterns, micro-expressions, anomalies, frequency changes, heart rate fluctuations, lies. These are just a few of the gifts bestowed upon me. That makes me a quantum wizard like Dr. Strange, as we have the same abilities. Follow me down the rabbit hole as I decode the universe's secrets, one guest at a time. Witness the magic of what a bump on the head can do as we journey together and uncover the hidden truth behind the magician's trickery. Explore with me the whispers of ancient civilizations, from Anunnaki to Atlantis, as I unravel esoteric knowledge collected from a lifetime of study. This expedition into the unknown does come with risks, as all great journeys do. Discover the hidden dangers as we navigate through the minefield of suppressed history, secret societies, and mind-bending conspiracies. I will teach you how to identify symbolism, the real subconscious language of the gods, hidden and displayed openly to the masses everywhere you look, but only the few adepts will see the hidden codes reshaping their reality. Join me in exploring the secrets of extraterrestrials and the elusive, unacknowledged special access programs controversy. Through riveting interviews with luminaries, insiders with classified knowledge, whistleblowers daring to speak the truth, archaeologists unearthing ancient secrets, experts in classified government programs, pioneers and artists shaping and molding the very material of this holographic universe, we together illuminate the shadows from those who conceal the truth from the public. As a secret space program spec ops experiencer, MyLab abductee, and polymath, my journey spans ufology, astrobiology, exopolitics, consciousness, the quantum realm, and much, much more, drawing from over 2 decades of professional deep dive study and worldwide travel, spanning 18 countries in my lifelong involvement in the Monarch MK Ultra program since a child, made famous in the Stranger Things and Fringe series. Being a trauma deprogrammer for Project MK Ultra and Monarch and various other illegal government programs using Dolores Cannon's quantum healing hypnosis technique, or QHHT, I navigate the astronomical tapestry, arming myself with adept research and deep dive investigation into unacknowledged realms, allowing me to heal, reintegrate, and release trauma from clients like no other has done before. Portal to Another Dimension isn't your average podcast. It's a gateway to the unknown, and is a risky venture into realms that some want to keep hidden. They will keep these secrets at all costs. This isn't a journey to the stars. It's a plunge into the depths of truth in the human soul. Step into the portal with me, where every episode unfolds a new chapter in the cosmic saga. And remember, together we are the resistance. Together we will defeat them. The portal is opening, and your mind and frequency is now attuned. Are you ready to step through it? All right, our journey has now begun, and my first guest is a very special one and a good friend of mine that I've known for over a decade. I often credit her for the reason of me stepping forward from the shadows into the spotlight of public scrutiny. Most of my life, I have been a ghost, a product of illegal government programs. If you were in the programs, you know what a ghost is. Before coming forward, I remained in the shadows so much that I didn't post a single photo or video of myself for almost 15 years, leaving my life behind and leaving everything I've ever known to start my life over in a foreign place. For all intents and purposes, I was a ghost. It was through an idea, during a tattoo, that this theme emerged, a joining of forces, to make a bigger impact we couldn't do by ourselves. Through that team up, the Rebel Collective podcast with Laura Eisenhower was born. A powerhouse of two minds combined with our ideas becoming exponential, growing larger with each episode, inspiring thought, rebellion, and the recognition of seeking answers within yourself and not in the external world. This was the idea that changed my life and allowed me to free myself from the prison I was forced in. Now public, I credit Laura for being that catalyst. In this tapestry we call life, some threads shine brighter than others, weaving tales of friendship, wisdom, and a rebellious spirit. Meet Laura Magdalene Eisenhower, a soul whose journey transcends the ordinary, leaving an indelible mark on every heart she touches. From the first moment you encounter Laura, a profound energy envelops you, a magnetic force that stems from a life draped in rich experiences. Her existence is a testimony of triumphs over adversity, a strength rarely found amongst individuals that resides within the depths of her being. Born with a spirit as untamed as the wind, Laura has faced life's tempests with a grace that is nothing short of mystifying. Her story is a colorful mosaic of experiences that have shaped her into this resilient, compassionate soul that she is today. Every thread tells a tale of overcoming, of rising above challenges that would defeat the bravest of souls. But she didn't sign up for this easy journey. Laura's journey isn't just a personal odyssey, it's a mind-warping expedition. A descendant of a lineage that reaches beyond the earthly realm, she carries the weight of history with an elegance that carries the magnitude of the Dwight Eisenhower legacy. Beyond the earthly constraints, Laura's heart beats to the rhythm of the cosmos and her soul dances among the stars. Yet amidst the cosmic grandeur, Laura remains remarkably down to earth, a grounding force in the lives of those fortunate enough to know her. Her compassion knows no bounds, her empathy an endless and open portal to the heart. She is the friend who lends an ear when the world feels overwhelming, the mentor who illuminates the path with wisdom earned from a life well lived. Laura's presence has great prestige, a space where authenticity is cherished and vulnerability embraced. She has the rare gift of making you feel seen, understood, and heard. In her company, you might not just find a friend, but a kindred spirit, a confidant who holds your space with the reverence it deserves. As we delve into the tapestry of Laura's life today, realize that her journey is not just a solo expedition. It's an invitation for others to embark on their own quest for self-discovery, resilience, and galactic connection. Through her experiences, she challenged us to rise above our limitations, to embrace the vastness of our potential, and to dance with the stars in the cosmic existence we call life. In this colorful grand mosaic we call humanity, Laura Eisenhower is a legend, a living testament to the power that emerges within one when one navigates life's labyrinth with courage, grace, and an unwavering commitment to love and to never back down. To walk alongside a soul whose essence is woven with stardust, leaving an eternal sparkle in the hearts fortunate enough to call her a friend, and I am honored to call you a friend. Get ready for an alchemical transformation of your understanding as we are graced by the presence of a global alchemist. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the visionary, Laura Eisenhower, to the cosmic stage. Welcome to the show, Laura.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Drago. It's so wonderful to be your first guest. What an incredible introduction to your show. And I'm blown away by the words that you've shared about me. I'm really thrilled to be with you today. Thank you.
This has been a long journey for us, man. We've been friends for a little over, probably around a decade now. And we've done some really awesome things, man. We started our own show back in May, and that is just building and becoming exponential right now. And this kind of like spawned the idea to make my own podcast to increase the message that we've been trying to put out with all the censorship and all the odds against us. So right now I just kind of want to just jump heads into it and just, what was the moment in your life that triggered you to move forward into needing to express your truths as a public speaker and to come carry the torch of your great-grandpa Dwight Eisenhower?
Gosh, so much has just led up to it along the way. I think around 2010, it was really based in synchronicities, and I kind of surrendered to the universe and to just Eisenhower, to my guides, to just the mission that if it's time for me to be public, that I will just do it. But I didn't want to be the one that pushed it too much, although the passion was there, even though I never really felt like I wanted to be seen. It just, the urgency was always there. And for what reasons, right? So synchronicity started to fall into place. Conversations began to happen with folks like Dr. Michael Sala and Alfred Lambermont Weber. Those conversations started to begin around 2006, 2007, when I had refused to go along with the Mars recruitment that a lot of people have heard about. And it wasn't until 2010 that I actually began to speak about it. And it just kind of happened in a synchronistic way. An accidental email ended up with in Alfred's hands. And it was a conversation with me and a friend saying, I'm really ready to share this kind of thing. It just ended up in his email. He's like, well, I think this is a sign. I think it's time. And the first interview I did with him, yeah, it was really intense to all of a sudden start to talk about these things. And I know you can relate. My first interview with him, I must have talked so fast. I mean, I know I kind of have a reputation for talking fast. Well, the first interview I did, it's just like speed, just like, boy, I can't believe I'm like actually sharing this. It was so surreal. So yeah, I mean, that feeling was always there, the need to share the truth. But most of my life has always been about, I can't even believe I'm still alive, to even be able to tell the tale. And so it became really surreal when, the first interview, then the second interview, and it sort of was a chain reaction. People in this field that have been talking about Mars, Project Camelot, and a lot of other platforms were just like, okay, this is a piece that will help us to maybe understand all these different, stories that we're hearing from folks like Andrew Bashago, who was a part of Project Pegasus, and some of the other experiencers who had, spent time on Mars. So as my voice got out there, I was invited to do events. And then the enormity of the rest of what I've been researching and uncovering and experiencing in my own life, I began to bring forward. So it wasn't just about just the Mars recruitment and this and that, or what I discovered about Eisenhower's administration. It was really just tapping into just the beginnings. Where did it all originate? The agreements with Eisenhower, the memories as a child of him visiting me, the preparation that I felt from a young age, and how all these different experiences that I've gone through have helped me to really uncover things that I was really encouraged to uncover with the guidance of him and Val Thor and other guides and just my higher self, and just and then the bigger picture, sort of galactic history and the Christ-Sophia and the divine template of our DNA. What happened to the planetary grid network? What are these artificial timelines? And this warning in his speech, I mean, all of it just ended up pouring through me in these presentations to really just like connect dots. So then my passion was really ignited. I'm like, wow, okay, I've shared this bit. Now I'm ready to share, the rest of it. And so I kind of got over the whole like, oh, I don't really want to be seen. But when you have to do it and it's for the right reasons, it's like an unstoppable force that even if I were to just say, no, I just can't, I don't want to, even if I just want to even take a vacation, it never leaves me alone. It's just how I'm wired. It's what I'm here to do. It's all I know how to do. So yeah, it really began in 2010. And yeah, it's gone through a lot of different fluctuations, lots of censorship. And this is why you and I are together, not just, the fact that we have a great friendship, but the deplatforming, the censoring, the smear campaigns, that's been pretty huge for me. The guilt by association, if I'm at an event with so-and-so and all of a sudden people don't like him. Oh, well, Laura was on a panel with him. So therefore, and just feeling like entangled in the madness of all that. And just, yeah, what keeps me rising beyond it all is because truth stands on its own, and it's a strength that will see things through, just like love. And no matter what happens, those things remain, and that will always be that spark that helps to regenerate and lift one up when they feel really shot down. So I'll kind of like leave it at that, but I always kind of knew I would have to like share this. I didn't think I would live to be able to share it, and now it's just, yeah, I just go with it, and I just go for it. So a lot of people say that I have clients, they're like, I really want to, but I can't be on stage and this and that, and I'm just all this resistance. But it's like the minute you get up there, the minute that microphone is handed to you, the minute you're there, you just surrender, and it all just flows. It's way different than what we see in the realm of celebrity or leaders. It's a whole different thing when you're like really on a mission, and it's just a power and force within our soul that you hold so incredibly strong. I'm so glad you're doing your show, that it just takes over, and there's no way to do anything else. When the timing is right, we show up.
And you're one of the few people that actually speaks with so much power behind the microphone. When you speak, you say you speak a lot. This is why people love you so much, because you can convey 300 to 500% more information in one talk than most people can do in a weekend. And like, we need stuff like that. We need people speaking from the heart, because a lot of these speakers, they only speak from the mind. You can see that. And again, I've said this for years about you. You always get standing ovations, like a true standing ovation, almost like freaking every time, man. Like, no matter what show we do, always. I've never not seen you get a stand, even on panels, you get standing ovations. So like, you're right, like that microphone is that conduit where we can express ourselves, because you're right, the censorship has been so bad. Look what we've lost. Look what you just lost with YouTube again. Another 120,000 subscribers. Like, when is the censorship gonna end? Like, we're in Reichstag 2.0. Instead of burning books, we're burning digital ones and zeros. Like, where does all this censorship end? Like, what's the end to it all? So like, it's people like you and me, we'll put our life on the line to do this. And normal people don't get it. People don't know what it's like for you to spend 18 solid years speaking about your truth, almost 2 solid decades of being on stage, doing videos, being booked so much that you mentally and physically can't take it no more. But you always stay on that path and mission, no matter how you feel. And that's one thing I admire about you, because you're one of the very few souls that, no matter what you're going through in life, like me, how targeted I am, and you know how much I don't sleep. But my mission will never stop me. I will always do this until I die. My body will tap out before my mind will give up. And that's why people like us, we're the diamonds in the rough, man. We're the piece of stardust in the cosmos that can't be replicated.
Yeah, I love that. Totally. Yep. And it is part of the mission. It is the mission to show that there's no force that can destroy this. I mean, and that's what they're attempting to do. So the very act of not allowing that is really, I think, the message that we all have to remember, that we have the power to regenerate, to bounce back, to just, move forward and be all the stronger for it. A lot of my talks have been called upgrading in the face of adversity. The inverted matrix and all the programmings want us to feel like there's something wrong with us when we navigate the human realm. If we are depressed or angry, or if we have a hard time in school, there's some doctor, some psychologist, or some mental health expert that's going to tell you what's wrong with you, versus facing those challenges and looking within, or seeking your own path of knowledge and research and experience in order to recognize that those stigmas or those projections are actually, an opportunity to open up more of who you are and what makes you unique, and what, your soul is calling for you to discover and find and reveal and embody. And so when we see that force come at us to try and, stop and limit, there is no defeat or victimization. Maybe for a day, maybe for a moment, maybe for a week, maybe that feeling comes and goes. But like you said in the beginning, you can't silence this. And it's just an unstoppable force. You become more resourceful, more creative, more determined. And then you start to reach into those levels of divine inspiration, the creative imagination, that strength that, no matter how many times you hit your head against something, you'll eventually leap over that obstacle. You're not just going to turn the other way and give your power away or give up. And we hold this so strong within all of us. And we're so often, tricked or duped out of it because our self-worth is targeted. And the love that we have needed or wanted that wasn't given, we seek. So many people are looking for approval, or they're looking for acceptance, and that really trips them up. And so it's a lot to just fall back on yourself, trust yourself, and Mother Earth and greater source energies, and the true divine mother, father, and the synchronicities that will lead you to more like-minded people, and also the repair work or the healing that needs to take place for relationships with family and friends to improve. And if they're not willing to know to have a boundary, and that you can let go of that struggle and cut those cords and trust that you will be supported and guided, and something much better will come forth, because that's the way cosmic and natural law works. That's what healing is all about. This is what nature teaches us. This is what the cosmic intelligence shows us. And as an astrologer, and as somebody that spent years in the wilderness, trained to be an expedition wilderness leader, I really got into just the elements and what nature has to show us, and what choices we have in the face of certain things, and how frequency and the levels of consciousness determine how we're going to manifest our reality. And that this is something we need to pay attention to and learn and begin to master. No matter how many times we hit our head, no matter how many times we fall down, that's an opportunity to gain, even more strength, instead of the judgments, instead of the defeat, instead of the I'm a failure, or I'm just, yeah. And I think that's the warrior spirit that you and I have in common, and so many of the people we know.
We know our own tribe.
Mm-hmm. And we want to ignite that warrior spirit in those that just, might just be kind of stuck in that funk, because igniting that is just possible for, pretty much anybody. But the indoctrination is so strong, as we know. People are defending their captors and very afraid to let go and see what else is in store for them. They've been taught to fear it. They've been taught to ridicule it. And it's something within them that they're actually judging, because, it's not so much about the uniqueness of that personality, but it's about accessing the possibilities, the open-mindedness to see a much vaster terrain of our history, our galactic history, and the fact that, You know, there have been forces that have attempted to engineer artificial timelines and create these psyops that people mistake for reality on the world stage, that people think is just the human condition. And it's very hard to break people out of that. That's why I always compare it to the realm of relationships. You can see red flags, you can see, you know, things taking place in people's, you know, relationships with people, you know, because they are the conduits, or they are the product of what the outer programmings are. It's just as hard to let go of some of, you know, the people in our lives, or the friends you used to have, or what your parents told you. You know, it's like we have to take it down to the most micro level to begin to find our sovereignty again and learn to say, no, I do not consent. That does not resonate. There's something in my intuition that says that does not feel right. And work that muscle of self-worth on our own terms, instead of this punishment reward system and this dependency bond with something so inverted as to convince us to give our creative power and energy to the very thing that actually, you know, enables it or creates it that we might enable. So once we, you know, really step away and cut the cords from it, a whole nother world opens up. It's just the in-between that's so painful. It's sort of like when you go through a breakup, even if you knew that relationship wasn't right for you, you go through that mourning process, that fear of being alone, all the triggers come up, all the shadow stuff comes up. But then once you clear it, once you're on the other side of it, it's like, oh my gosh, things start falling into place. You start to notice how much the universe and the earthly forces are really supporting you to, you know, live your truth, manifest your calling in a way that is sustainable, and to meet, you know, like-minded people, your soul tribe, soulmates, and people that, you know, love you for who you truly are. It's just that awkward period between the two that is so frightening for people. And that's why it's good to give a voice to the dark night of the soul, going into the underworlds and, you know, facing all of that. Let's not make that just something we avoid or something that we label or fear. You know, it's an initiation, and it's a powerful thing that we all have to face to get to the other side. And that's how we bust down the frequency fences, the seals in our DNA, and the net, and the artificial timelines, and the scrambled DNA that has been called junk in our science classes. This is how we begin to light up the full potential of all that we are, is to move through these challenges. Life gives us everything we need to get to where we want to be, but everything outside of us wants to convince us, wants us to interpret it and experience it in a completely different way than what our soul knows it's there for. And that's where the mind control and the trickery is.
And this is why you get standing ovations everywhere you go, because you can convey so much stuff from the heart, and you can basically touch souls, man. Like, you have very powerful words, and like, I believe you've had this dark night of the soul life, this whole journey through the duat, because you had mentioned Andy Basiago earlier. He was the one that told you that they pre-identified you before birth and targeted you with looking glass technology.
Yes, it was there was information coming from Andrew Basiago that I was pre-identified in 1972, which is a year before I was born. And then the looking glass technologies, he brought a piece of that, but I had already known about that because of the Mars recruiter and what the defectors of the aviary, the group that was involved in recruiting, had said that they used looking glass technologies to look at me in previous lifetimes, to target me in a particular person that they wanted to bring somewhere else off planet in order to reseed a new civilization. But just like so many things, there's, you know, a bit of an infiltration going on there with that whole, you know, agenda. And that also connects to Alternative 3. That was something that took place in the Eisenhower administration, Alternatives 1, 2, and 3 that were presented to the Eisenhower administration from off-planet beings, the Zetas. And this goes into the different, you know, timeline scenarios. Folks like Dan Burrish have talked about that. A lot of those individuals or whistleblowers have been discredited, but we have to just know that there's stuff to take away and maybe some things to discard, because there were certain levels of top secret information that even those that were trying to blow the whistle didn't have access to, like William Cooper and Phil Schneider. So it all is a part of this New World Order agenda. And you, me, and Ileana had a show kind of digging deep into this. So I don't want to kind of go too far into it. You can see some of our broadcasts of like what that's all about. But yeah, I think I'm getting off track with your question though.
Yeah, it was Ileana that actually said she actually uncovered that they were trying to get to Ike, and she remote viewed that you were sent to make sure that he never went down that negative rabbit hole, and you were there to be there as like a guide for him, and that you made this an agreement before you came in, and because of you being that guide, we're here now. And this is why he helped fight this military industrial complex monster, which you like to call the extraterrestrial military complex, because you're right, it's not the highest levels is not ran by humans. And the agreements that were made in the Truman administration with MJ-12, man, it was some really nasty agreements. And when Knight came in, he had to basically inherit all that, and he did everything he could to fight it, including creating special USMC sections to help fight this entire monster. And when he during his farewell speech, he basically said that the monster was so massive that its funding is bigger than the government's. It has bigger armies than the government's, and the technologies are so clandestine that it would be hard to break free from their control. And I believe that's why you were targeted pre-birth, because they've been hitting you with those weapons your whole life. I'm pretty sure it was the aviary hitting you with psychotropic and psychotronic weapons. You've suffered that your entire life. What's that been like?
Yeah, I could feel it like early on, and I was very aware of my mission, or just why I kind of came in very early on. And when Ileana said all that, it was very familiar to me. I always felt that. I felt that in my intuition. She's not the first person to say that I, was his guide during that time. And so coming in would be, okay, well, on a human level, living kind of through this and having that target in order to, put me on that trajectory, that would be the way to just call it out, or just be face to face with it. So she said that there was no determination what I was going to do once I came in, because we all come in and we have a bit of amnesia and there's just a lot to sort out there. But I really feel that because of my connection previously, and that being a part of it, that coming in and being face to face with it and then refusing to go along with it would put me on the path that I'm on now, to disclose as much truth as I possibly can about what really took place in his administration, as all these false narratives are being steered and all these different things that are taking place on the planet. Before it was about the false narratives, were very much about understanding the geoengineering and the engineering of an artificial timeline that would be cataclysmic to even want to convince people to go off planet or underground. So understanding, this Earth and the healing of the planetary grids and what this ascension window period is all about, has been just such a huge part of it. And then because that's such the bigger picture of it all, I feel that the guidance that I might have provided for Eisenhower, we're looking at that, an awakening. What is our human potential? We don't need to be duped or convinced that we need to make these deals. And that's where Val Thor comes in. And I think Val Thor really helped to inspire him to say a knowledgeable and aware citizenry is what is going to help us to overcome this rise of misplaced power of the military industrial complex, that we would have to become aware and awaken in order to combat it. And so me, along with many, are here to just inspire that as best as we can. but yeah, so he's been a major guide to me. I was kind of a guide to him, and there's a connection with the Venus stuff, and yeah, it's a lot. But there's many of us. We're all tasked with a different piece to all of this. But yeah, that was I don't know how things might have gone. But look at where we are today. I mean, things are pretty messed up, but it's not as bad as we might think. It's that mockingbird media. It's what we are being streamed constantly, that is hooking people into a very inverted and dark future or possibility or of a timeline that we can observe, and we can advocate for the end of it, and we can call out as much as we can possibly call out, but that is not the true reality that is encoded in us to begin to manifest. And all these dormant aspects within ourselves, our DNA, our consciousness, and awakening to all of that, is what is going to crush it, because it relies on the divide and conquer for the parasite to be able to feed. It needs this disruption. It needs this chaos. It needs all this fear being triggered constantly in order for it to even be alive, for it to even exist. And that's why I always say, the powers that be only have stolen power. We're the powers that be. We've been vampired off of. It gave them power, and it's time for us to call that back. So it's a group effort. It's not about the governmental structure. It's not about one person, So a lot that has come through his speeches or his quotes or some of the channelings, it's about how the worst thing that they see on their side is a starseed or an earth warrior type of being that's come in that gives up or forgets, because we're all holding something incredibly important to rise up and recognize that we all hold a very, very, important, significant piece to all of this. And that's why, we see this grooming and indoctrination, and they target children at such a young age to just really just medicate and look away and distract yourself as far away from all that intelligence and wisdom and what the next generation, so many people that have already been born have come in with. That we need to just call this out. Get off those pharmaceuticals and release those projections. Believe in yourself. That's paramount. That's what is so important. So where he might have been duped, and where humanity has been duped, and where the war is currently is yes, as we know, the war on consciousness. So that's all that I've ever kind of known to just guide anybody about. And also receive the guidance coming in to, just stay really, really strong in knowing that this is what we're up against. And this is what we have to pay attention to. Look at all the people that are being targeted for their good intent, that are really good people, that are just being duped by these funded movements, all the different psyops that prey upon people's traumas and reactions. I mean, it's just like, it's a lot for people to swallow, but once you get a grip on it, there's a lot to begin to embrace and celebrate and be just, just happy about. Like, you're returning to you're returning to clarity, you're returning to cultivating a relationship within yourself that's going to reconnect you to the divine and to the greater intelligence of, an earth that's repairing itself from cataclysms and exploded planets and a planetary grid network that's been tampered with, and that we're in this process together. And it's encoded in nature to know how to heal and regenerate and recover. And that's why, you and I are riding that frequency and that energy. When we get slammed, now the rest of the human race needs to realize that they can do it too. No matter how much the betrayal, no matter how much the attack, no matter how much the lies and manipulation, that we have it in us to override and overcome. In the face of all the dark weaponry, we can dismantle and de-weaponize it through, reaching these levels of ourself. And to me, that's like the ultimate empowerment that we can hold in these times. No matter how hard it is, no matter how many bad days you have, that you see that in your horizon, that that that's temporary. That's just part of the process that you need to move through in order to, really claim the fullness of your being again. There's a lot of trash to be taken out, you know. We do that in our homes. We do that in the physical realm. We got to do that in our minds, our emotions, and where our spiritual energies have been tampered with, corded into gurus and priests and people outside of ourselves, you know, appreciating what we might have gained, but not having anything outside of us be the end all be all. Those are just training wheels, really. But some get obsessed with the power that people give to them, that they become so corrupt that, you know, then there's abuse and then there's trauma, and then it gets really, really difficult. So yeah, this world has been really, it's been a lot.
It's definitely been co-opted by the darkness, and like we're in that infight, man. We're here to basically, I think the reason why they target you so much is because I identified you that you would come here and store shit up like a hornet's nest. And I believe the alternative 3 recruitment, the whole Mars thing, was to get you off the planet so they can control that narrative and remove that anchor of light that was supposed to have happened already. And you had mentioned Valiant Thor earlier. You've mentioned your lifelong connection to different extraterrestrials going back since you were a child, communicating with these ETs and activating your psychic powers and stuff like that. Can you kind of dive into how these encounters have influenced your worldwide view and contributed to the expansion of consciousness for yourself?
Yeah. I had a lot more of that then than I do now. I feel, I mean, it's kind of hard to just recall like everything. I mean, there was one that was very significant. I remember, I think I was in elementary school. I was on some sort of beach and there was like ruins and there was some luminous beings that were showing me like this viewfinder and like looking through to see, you know, the timelines and the possibilities. Like this one, you know, is not necessary, and this one, it will be so beautiful, it'll make you cry, and this is the one that, you know, you can help manifest. And when Ileana was talking about how I'm able to, you know, influence timelines, that really made a lot of sense. And we all do, right? Our beliefs, our thoughts, our energies influence timelines. So I think just being in the Eisenhower family, though, and because of the role that he played and because of how much that administration had so much, I mean, it was after the Second World War. It was after, you know, all these, you know, Project Paperclip, the Unconditional Surrender Agreement in 1952 that nobody talks about, when really like our country and the tentacles that spread all throughout the world was beginning to infiltrate in a really, really massive way that, you know, any of us that are calling it out are shifting the timelines, because that would have been a very strong and anchored timeline that would have been completely engineered based in this level of manipulation. So I had a lot of guides and assistants from Eisenhower, and I feel from definitely, you know, Val Thor, not so much where I can remember, oh, I was, you know, on the ship and I was talking to, oh, had a little bit of a tech issue there. Yeah, so I basically, you know, talking about the guidance that I had as a child. I mean, having guided Eisenhower and his administration and then coming in and having him guide me in mine, I think that was just a really, you know, crucial piece. And we were talking about the targeting before, and I just kind of wanted to go back into that because my targeting is very weird. I mean, it's definitely something that people have talked about. Some have called it like honey trap, when they set you up with a particular person that they have already mind controlled or mylabbed and influenced in a certain way to place in a certain, to place in a person's path. That's, you know, what happened to me. So the guidance that they gave me when I was meeting these particular individuals, that was a really important phase, because the things that were going on were so, I mean, I had to dive down so many rabbit holes to like begin to comprehend and understand what I was dealing with. And if it wasn't for the dreams that I was having and just sort of that inner voice and feeling that sort of guidance, it would have been a lot more difficult because I didn't have anybody to check in with about it. And I'm talking about the Mars recruitment. So yeah, I just want to kind of like end there, and you can just ask me a question. But Yeah, these people I would consider plants, and they specifically, through the use of looking glass technologies, located certain individuals that they would pull in and mind control and use as bait to pull me in to this Mars recruitment. And so the guidance that I got as a child and how it played out over the years, and especially when I was up against it, yeah, we're to offset a lot of the targeting, which is the targeting of, oh, this is an important thing, you need to do this, we need to take you off planet, with the target date being 2012, linking me up with this man, right? So one of the key things about this guy was I met him and I thought that I met somebody that I was just forming a connection with. But I had noticed this weaponry on me all throughout my childhood, though, like this energy on me that I couldn't figure out. Until I went to a clairvoyant institute and they said, there's like weaponry on you, there's targeting on you, they're trying to steer you in a certain direction. They tried to help me, but they couldn't. It was too strong. So I just kind of surrendered to it and just, I'm like, okay, well, whatever it's trying, wherever it's trying to take me, let me see where that is, and then I'll confront it. And so I explain it in my book. I moved from California back to Washington, D.C. to live with my mom, with my kids. And I go to this, gathering because I was just so reclusive and I just felt like I need to be around people. And I met this man, and this was the guy that recruited me to go to Mars. They had tracked me and they had been tracking me, and they used him, locating him with looking glass technologies, and saw that we had a connection to like find me and kind of woo me and just kind of like start a relationship. And so that was like the kind of targeting where they put a person on your path. You think you're meeting somebody in an organic way, like you're forming a relationship, kind of falling in love, kind of, and then boom, all this other stuff is coming in. He's visiting me, right? We're starting to see each other. We're starting to date because we just connected, at this gathering. And he's starting to talk about like going to Mars, and he's going to these secret meetings and he's telling me about it. And yeah, so that was sort of the method, but it wasn't just him. They had a list of individuals that they knew would come upon my path that I would run into on my journey, and they would target them and like put directed energy weapons on them to shift their behavior to be very, very dangerous. And one of the defectors from the aviary helped me to understand this. And if you look up who the aviary is, you'll see gang stalking, psychotronic weaponry, my labs, right? They didn't my lab me, but they did my partner. So he was absolutely and totally under their control. And so the dreams that I had, the preparation I had as a child with Balfour and Eisenhower, and just the beings that had me look through that viewfinder of like the different timelines. Yeah, that's kind of what I was working with in order to know how to navigate and know what decisions to make.
What was it like figuring out that they sent a three-letter agency asset, which you had originally called, I think, Agent X, and it was his mission to basically get you into this alternative three scenario? And like when you had mentioned the looking glass technology, it made me think for a second. I wonder if they identified me coming in from the past to start this with you, and if that's the reason why they've started bumping up my attacks. So it's really weird. People don't understand the type of weaponry they use because they don't believe they exist. They use a lot of dark energy weapons with dark agendas, and the way they can target you, they can give you a psychotic break. They can send certain frequencies and activate things in you if you were part of these programs through frequencies, through 5G, through all kinds of dark technologies.
Yeah.
I just think about just the way they've targeted me and how they've taken me down, and just the amount of pain that I receive, and how they just take me offline, and how we try to do these shows and we get hit with this weaponry and it just takes us offline. So it's just like, no matter what we do, it's happened to us so many times. What do you do at that point, you know?
No. I know. I think about you and just all you contend with all the time. It's just like, wow. It's just, wow. So I got these Faraday bags recently that put your devices in and it blocks everything, because that's where they're trying to, target us, is through our devices. And the thing is with, the 5G and what people have put into their body, what we have in our body, whether we like it or not, it doesn't just take the jab. I mean, we've been breathing in air, chemtrailed air, our soil, um, just the GMOs. I mean, everything that has prepared our bodies to have a sort of antenna link to 5G and these sort of frequency modulations in order to create a person to do something that is not coming from their own awareness or soul, is pretty strong. And so yeah, folks like are constantly having to override that and be aware of it, because if you're not aware of it, you're easily impacted by it. So when I was dealing with all of it, it wasn't so much a mind control. It was like the manipulation of like the heart, like falling for somebody, wanting to go wherever he's going to go, because they knew that we had a relationship in a past life. As far as what they had done to him in these, projects or my labs, is a whole other thing. What they're doing to the whole human race, is to, make people consent to this sort of timeline. And it's sort of the bigger picture manipulation, right? Then they have, the more concentrated version of what, we see with these different, projects and assets and, people on the world stage. And but with me, yeah, it was much more about that. But how they keep it alive, though, is to, continue trying to gain access through our electronics and through trying to convince us to put things in our body that'll make it easy for us to be manipulated and controlled. And that's where we have to recognize, where we should say no, where we need to like do all we can to like purge it out of our system. So it takes unbelievable strength to be somebody like you, who, I mean, because you're probably an anomaly in their eyes. They probably didn't expect you to be where you are today, right?
I often call myself an anomaly because everything I've figured out with like the ACO and stuff, with me not supposed to be in this timeline and like how I don't recognize this timeline, and it's very confusing because you was mentioning these technologies earlier. They have like nanites and smart dust, and that's how they put it into everything. They put it into the chemtrails, into the foods, and then they use these psychotronic weapons to activate it from the smart dust and the nanites that we're consuming everywhere. And that's how they can actually directly target us. It's getting to the point where what do we do at this point? They're using 5D weapons on us. They're using the type of weapons we can't even see. And it was I think wasn't it Dan Smith that originally told you, part of the aviary, that you were actually being targeted this way? Wasn't he Chicken Little?
Yeah, that's right, Dan Smith.
Yeah, the aviary, they have a bunch of code names and they were birds.
Yeah.
And man, they controlled a lot of stuff. And I think it was originally set up during Ike's administration, and when Ike found out it was connected to the Zetas, he went completely against all that stuff with the alternative three when they created that.
Yeah, and actually there was a battle. He ordered a battle in the Dulce underground base in 1954. This is different than the Phil Schneider one. And yeah, he tried to take him out, but wasn't very successful. So there's a lot that we don't even hear about. The unconditional surrender agreement, this,
52.
yep, and this invasion of the Dulce underground base. And I think some people have heard about him wanting to invade Area 51. So all the different attempts he made to put an end to it really didn't go that well. Not to say that there haven't been some successes. So when we look at the positive military to this day, like what the White Hats are doing or the Earth Alliance are doing, they don't want to go about it in a combative way, in a violent way. It's really about the deprogramming, right? It's really about the awareness. And this is what we're doing, right? Is calling out this level of manipulation. If you know it's happening, you can be that much more discerning, because it is a weapon on the mind. And what streams through our TVs, what streams through all these different power structures, religion, entertainment industry, medical industry, educational institutions, and just this grooming process. And the reason people are so susceptible is not just because of the falsities that are being steered, the false narratives and the indoctrination programs, but there is these bioweapons and these dark technologies that make it really hard for the intuition of a person to be able to bust through and say, wait a second, that actually, you know, a person can access that greater intelligence to say something's really off here, and look at how bad it's gotten, you know. So yeah, like people like me or you or others might be hit in a more extreme way, but this is on a massive scale. I mean, there's the targets of individuals that might influence timelines, right? I had a big part in warning Eisenhower and him helping me, and all these different levels of the SSP and all the things that they're trying to do with people like you waking up from it and being able to, I mean, look at how just the awareness of it is beginning to break it down and dismantle the weaponry. That is the most important thing, is that, you know, our consciousness and awareness of it overrides it. And then the body, you know, and the higher consciousness is able to recognize those foreign elements within the system that connects into those frequency manipulations, and it begins to remove it. I mean, yes, of course, detoxing and doing different things to get it out of your body is important, but even consciousness and just integrating that into your everyday way of life and speaking the truth about it is enough to really break down these dark weapons. And so that's the hardest thing to convince people of, is that, yes, you might be buying into that narrative or that movement or that belief system, but the minute you can see what's operating behind it in order to create this divide and conquer, or the fear of death and this virus and all this kind of stuff, you know, once a person snaps out of it, the body really begins to not be so susceptible to whatever they put in the food, whatever they put in the jab, whatever the spike proteins have done, whatever the 5G is doing, because it's all about frequency when we reach into those higher levels of consciousness. And that's why you are an unstoppable force, because you have reached that level of clarity within yourself to, you know, there might, I mean, I know you're interviewing me, but I have so many questions all the time for you. But, you know, it's like you're still up against it, but it's a lot more difficult than ever to be able to, and it's a lot more dangerous for them to even try to want to mess with somebody like you, because of what you now know. That I would imagine that they're pretty scared of you at this point.
I think this is the reason why I wanted to create the Rebel Collective with you, because like that's how you weaponize a movement. You have a group with the most strongest minds of the world, and you join forces. You know, you have to have a team of people that will have your back and stuff like this, because ultimately when it comes to it, we feel alone a lot. Like a person like you have 10,000 acquaintances, but how many true friends do you really have that you know would drop everything at the drop of a hat to come save you, to help you, to bail you out? Like, there's not many people in the world that are like that. And like, that's what we're here to find. We're finding our brothers and sisters and our soul tribe and our extraterrestrial family. And this is the moment. Like, look what I did, speaking about all these dark weapons. Look what he formed. He started the White Hats. He started the special sections of the Marine Corps with Project Moonshadow. He even started DARPA. the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Like this was the agency that this was how we was originally going to be helping take down the deep state, authorizing all this technology to come out. And then it was co-opted again by NJ12 after we created DARPA, and it was taken back again outside of his control because even Kennedy couldn't even control it at that point. So they took over DARPA, which he created, and they turned it dark. And we have to show the public this is what happened. Like, look at all the good. Like, Ike is one of the only presidents who did so much change in his administration that I don't think many presidents, except for Trump, can really like dovetail off of. Like, Kennedy tried it. Like, a lot of people didn't know that Kennedy was shrouded in controversy, and like him and his brothers and stuff, but like they did go against the status quo, and they did try to bring all this to the forefront. It was because of Ike that Kennedy spent the first 3 years trying to talk about the UFO stuff and to bring out the UFO files and to declassify all this stuff, because he knew it was all about money at that point. The military industrial complex, it was so massive that the only way to truly take it down is to stop the funding. And the only way to do that is to stop the invasion of Vietnam. That was the number one funding mechanism of the MIC at that time for all the weapons of the wars. Like, if we're gonna make change in this world, we gotta stop having world wars. The United States has got to stop being the weaponization of the world. Like, it's not our role to bail the entire planet out. If you think about that, like, why can't the world join forces and we do this together? You know? But was it 47 United Nations was created, and then all that autonomy was hijacked, and it was consolidated into one conglomerate of control. And where do we go from that point? Like, even if we had a president that came to take down the cabal, we're a single country of the world. How do we inspire the world to get to the point where we take down the United Nations?
Yep. I feel it's, already happening, and I feel the Earth Alliance, connecting all these different countries, and there is this underlying deeper just process happening that is manifesting what some would call New Earth or ascension or moving into 5D. I mean, it's happening. It's just not what you're going to see on the TV. We're not going to see it in the news as much, but it's happening. People are linking up. People are creating healing centers, buying up land, doing what they can, making sure to just move through this very, very difficult phase where everything might, crumble and get, shut down, because that's the last thing that they can do is to pull the plug. I mean, we see all these predictions and projections of what this next year is going to look like. Is it going to be a fake alien invasion? Are we going to be cut off? Is the electrical grid and all this going to be, shut down? When something's in their death throes that knows only how to vampire and feed off of something that is losing its ability to hook in anymore, it's going to just go as far as it can to continue to make that happen. And it's just like, whoa. Really does kind of come down to the individual and the strength of each individual within themselves to be able to perceive, what's actually manifesting, that we are a part of, our higher mind, our deeper soul is a part of. And if we can stay in alignment with that, then that harvesting and siphoning and distracting energy of what's going on over here will no longer be a reality that we even have to contemplate. It requires attention. It's sort of like, negative attention, like a kid, like, it just needs any kind of attention to be fed, to be relevant, to be empowered, to be believed in, to be trusted. And when people like realize and can come to terms with the fact that for better or for worse, whatever they think of what that is no longer, good for them, then the trajectory of what is actually real and organic that is encoded within us in our DNA and in the planetary grid network and the greater cosmic intelligence, that's taking us somewhere, really wonderful. It's just the constant maintenance of the everyday unplugging, unhooking, deprogramming, checking the self, being discerning. So it's, we're in the thick of a lot right now, but it'll ease up. And like you said, the more we come together, the more our minds, come together, it strengthens it. It makes it feel like, you're not so alone. But you have to kind of first establish that within yourself in order to be consistent enough with it, to be able to move through the different smear campaigns or the gossip, or all the different things that will make you, not really sure what to think or who to trust. You have to trust yourself first. And develop that inner discernment and establish that strength within yourself so that you can navigate, so that you're not giving your power away to anybody, because we don't want that. We don't want people to give their power away to us. We just want to walk hand in hand and do this greater work together, knowing that not every day is going to be easy. We're going to have our moments, but we're committed to, constantly maintaining a hospitable energetic climate within our own beings to stay aligned with, the greater forces of creation that we are made of, not the geoengineered versions that have been tampered with in order to consent to something artificial that pulls us out of the soul matrix and into a phantom earth and into a new world order and into further enslavement. So, right now I just feel like it's just the tending to the everyday of like establishing agreement amongst each other that we're going to assist one another in doing this, greater work, which you do doing the QHHT and I, doing sessions, and a lot of us out there that are, just being of service to others, while we're being transparent and open about our journeys as well as we're working through all the things that are trying to stop us from doing this. It's a lot. It's a lot.
What it sounds like, it's basically sounds like it's up to the individual to basically create that timeline they want to experience, which kind of leads into ascension. And you talk about ascension a lot. How do we basically shift the timeline to get to that positive organic ascension timeline to make it an easier transition?
Well, yeah, just what I'm saying is just, recognizing, what is hooking into you, what is taking your life force, your creative imagination, your thoughts, and kind of infiltrating or infecting it with something that you end up participating in because you form a relationship with it. And it's a mixed bag depending on the individual, what kind of relationship they're going to have with it. So even a so-called awakened person might still have some kind of relationship with it. They might be angry with it. They might be battling it. Well, that's a lot better than being complicit or consenting or just in fear and not knowing what to do because you've been blackmailed, or just being oblivious because it's too much to wake up. The battle part, yeah, I mean, it is, a bit of a battle, but it's moving out of the duality, moving out of the personality addiction matrix, because once you're free of that, that is the higher earth energy. When we talk about 5D, when we talk about higher earth energies, it's all about that integration of polarity. The duality is no longer, like at war with itself or each other. I mean, the root races came about in order to switch on dormant DNA, in order to repair the template, the tree of life template. But all these world wars and genocides and all the targeting is so that we're all pit against each other. And that process of rebuilding that architecture will be really difficult and impossible. And we'll just, be fighting amongst ourselves, and they can just step away. And we're just a bunch of programmed, traumatized messes on the ground level, just not able to sort it out because of all the thousands of years of grooming, of indoctrination, of trauma, of war, of, religion, and all these conquer and divide strategies. And so if we can look at that and come to terms with that, then we can recognize that diversity and harmony and all that is a blessing, and to integrate that and to get to know each other and embrace our uniqueness and our differences, but recognize where the differences are cast upon us as a program versus just representing, something that's diverse to, maybe the person that you are. I kind of look at metaphorically like a orchestra of music that learns to tune its instrument so it can play well with all the other instruments. But you can play by yourself and like figure out how to keep it in tune and how to, and then you learn to collaborate and mix with others until it's a beautiful sound and it just works. And the divide and conquer is been to mess all that up, to put us out of tune so that we're smashing each other with our differences and we're at war with each other and we're, trying to decide who's the bigger victim and having to be politically correct, and the gender confusion and all these different things are targeting and weaponizing the rehabilitation that is naturally going on in this whole kind of Earth experience of sinking down into this lower harmonic universe, these exploded planets, the root races coming in to repair the template of sacred union, higher gamic union, and everything that's encoded in our DNA to move into higher Earth energies and higher harmonic universes, which is the rehabilitation that the human race is under. And the psyops and everything that is outside of us is targeting the growth periods and the healing process in order to make it more chaotic, but convince people that they're actually fighting for something that's righteous. So everybody feels justified, like, yeah, but Black Lives Matter or feminism or climate change or right versus left, all of this stuff. People are in these sub personalities. They're no longer soul centered. So once we get back into the soul centeredness of it all, then we begin to be on that timeline. We live on a deeper level. We can see through all of that. We realize we all want the same thing. We all love each other. We actually don't really have any issue with each other. That's all been pushed on us, triggered in us. And to walk away from that and say that is just a shitstorm, like bad dynamic, bad story, bad script. This is all engineered. This is all literally targeting a healing progression that was inevitable for the human race to rebuild itself and come back to the truth of all that we are and all that we're made of, all our higher ET genetics as well, our galactic history, recapturing everything that has been lost to us. It's like it's the strategy behind a vampiric, parasitic, inverted race of beings that have created culture and society, and everything that has been set up is to promote this addiction matrix in order to create the loosh and create the harvesting in order to supply them with the power that runs everything. And they're desperate to never lose that. And the minute you recognize that and walk away, then the healing really, really begins, the true healing. Not going to the doctor, putting a Band-Aid on it, having a false light representative giving you a quick fix that you might believe in and then recognize it's actually hurting you, and having to come to terms with that. It's like the more people go down that timeline, the harsher the awakening is, because the deeper down into the entanglement of it all a person goes. And the quicker you just sort of remove yourself and begin the process of untangling yourself from it, the quicker you'll see a beautiful future begin to blossom. And this is what the cycles of nature show. This is what we all know when we manifest, things, those times in your life where it's like, oh my God, you manifested a miracle, or that synchronicity, that's natural. That's the way it always should be. What's tripping you up? What's making you forget? It's what we got to look at. So we got to have these conversations in order to assist people in breaking all that down and removing themselves. And a lot of it is to really shut down the devices, because it is based in, triggers, traumas, and frequencies. So if after all these dark cycles of history, we're born with trauma after trauma, past lives that haven't been reconciled because we forget them, our galactic memories have been erased, then all this unconscious trauma is easily triggered through the media, through our electronics, with all these trigger events and psyops. So doing things like QHHT like you do, and really like lifting that veil and looking deep into the roots of it all, is absolutely going to remove people from, that timeline, which is, a sinking ship, which only is maintained by a small percentage that wants everything else to be in survival or dead. Whereas moving over here, it begins to lose its grip and it thrives, and it's unreachable. It enters a place where they can't touch it. But in the bridge and the crossover, into these higher levels of awareness is usually when the targeting increases, and the psychic attack and the manipulation and the targeting, is increased, because they know they're just about to lose someone. And when they do, that begins to ripple out, and that energy and frequency begins to, shake up a lot of other people to do the same. That's why people like you and me are so heavily targeted. And that's why censorship is like, shut it down, because the power of how quickly that concept or psyops can spread all around the world and infect people, so can a frequency of truth and love and wisdom and higher awareness. That's why it's just like, gotta shut it up. Sorry, I know I'm kind of like, I haven't slept really.
Do you think they ramped up all these personal attacks because we went into Ophiuchus in 2012, and this is what activated these new energies and this awakening amongst the entire world population?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a prophesized window period. And when people think about ascension, it's not some rapture. I mean, there's legitimate things that have been happening that show that the mother energy anchoring back to the planet, the healing of the planetary grid network, the anchoring of the mother energy is offsetting the reversal, dark mother reversal, Baphomet, satanic ritual abuse, manipulation of the planetary grid network, all the different things that have taken place throughout our history that have created religions and teachings of folks like Jesus, and stories about that are just distortions. They're not the true galactic histories, are not the truth of what the Essenes were all about. It's not what we used to know. So yeah, root races, Polaris, Hyperborea, Lemuria, Atlantis, Atlantean cataclysms, this level of infiltration. I'm sorry, what was the question though?
I think I had mentioned how basically we entered Ophiuchus in 2010, and that activated this entire shift.
Right. So the Venus transits and the corrections of if you look at the symbolism of the inverted pentagram, the fifth element going down, earth, air, fire, water, ether, platonic solids, the nucleic acids of our DNA are earth, air, fire, water, ether. The planetary grid network is set up in this way: magnetic, electric, the electromagnetic energies of the masculine and feminine, how that is the template of our DNA. That is the true planetary grid network. That repair work that has happened on a cosmic level, because the greater cosmic intelligence, just like our own higher self, guides our own physical body to heal when it's been broken, when it's been hurt, when it's been injured. The greater cosmic intelligence has been repairing the Earth system. So the Venus transits, and then 2010, when the sun started to move through the 13th sign of Ophiuchus, really was the completion of the ether element coming upright again, literally turning that reversal upright again, so that we are connected with the ether, the quintessence, the unconditional love of the mother, the healing energies of all that. Yes, it used to be connected with the fallen angels and Enki and all this different stuff, but the healing also of the fallen angels is this Ophiuchus energy, now representative of the healing energies and ether, unconditional love of the mother. And that is the great purifier of all the toxins and all the pollutants within our DNA and within the elements on the planet. And so, of course, that's why everything's been targeted. So 2010, yes, we look at, it first started with, it didn't first start, but one of the big events along the way, 2001, the Twin Towers, 2012, all these different psyops and all these different events taking place that lead up to pandemic, which is, as Ophiuchus we experience every year, it's getting to the point where people are really starting to wake up. They've really began to feel into these energies, the light codes, things coming from the sun, the coronal mass injections, and all the different frequencies that are really upgrading us, all the planetary alignments that are pushing us into these growth periods. It's like, whoa, okay, pandemic, mask, don't breathe in that ether, do not breathe in the breath of life, because it's connected to the breath. and just breathing, just connecting, just grounding. So most of these psyops are weaponizing a lot of these astrological events taking place, so that, yes, when we think of 2012, what are all the movies, the predictive programming, end of the world, all of this kind of stuff. So it distracts everybody away from really thinking of what these times really mean, because we're looking outside of ourselves, or we're being entertained by it, but we're not being conscious co-creators or embodiments of the actual upgrades and changes that are happening within us, in our consciousness, in our physiology. It's just yeah, so being distracted is missing the opportunity. Does the opportunity ever abandon us? No. But the further away you walk, the further it's going to take to walk, back in the other direction. But it can happen in just a snap. You can put yourself right back there, because it's actually encoded within you. So no matter how far away you go, you can get back pretty darn fast. But for some, they have to uncoil quite a bit, just because their physical body, it might have taken a huge toll on them. As we're seeing, today, it's not going to be like quite the overnight fix, unless some of these more advanced technologies come in. But to me, the ultimate bioweapon is on the mind. And once the mind is free, the higher levels of consciousness and awareness, that frequency can dismantle the weapons, break down the dark weapons, the bio weapons. And that is the first place to start. And once you're there, the synchronicities of your life will begin to find you the solutions and the people that will be able to help you to repair and heal, because that is encoded in nature to know how to do that, no matter how far gone you get. It's encoded in nature. We see it in nature. We see it in our bodies, that when we get injured, it knows how to heal. We don't have to command it to. But when the injury is so bad, it's vulnerable to infection. And so we're a traumatized humanity that's a gaping wound that is easily preyed upon. And so it riles it up in order to keep it in that problem reaction solution, because it's so vulnerable. It's so overwhelmed by the things it just doesn't understand, that it can't even begin to start the process. And that's the hard part of the awakening for people.
Yeah, people don't understand you have to go through that dark night of the soul. You have to face your inner demons, and you've got to face the abuses you do to yourself, and realize that you are abusing yourself no matter what it is, because we all abuse ourselves in all kinds of ways. And you have to shed these layers of self-harm and get rid of the harmful relationships and the people in your life. And you've got to be the change you want to see. Just like you're saying, like, when you were a wilderness guide, like, just nature being your teacher, of just kind of showing you how to slow down, how to look within. Like, how did nature play a role in your awakening with going on the inside?
Well, you just see a direct manifestation of your energy when you're in the wilderness. If you're a negative ego, if you are in a survival energy, you see a direct reflection of all that, the way it impacts the group, the way nature responds to you. When you're just really operating from a place of mindfulness, and you're really paying attention to everything that's around you, the plants, the animals, what's going on with the weather, with you're just really just a part of it all, and you're just feeling it, and you're just tuned into it. You're in relationship to it. You can like work with it and create with it, and it warns you. It takes care of you. If you're going too far, when to kind of step back. You don't have a fear response that isn't something that serves you, because you don't drop into survival, you drop into awareness, right? And this is the thing with the manipulation of fear in people. When it's not being used or appreciated as something to tune into, to have discernment, to have caution, but it's to look outside of yourself, to play this game. Nature doesn't do that. You see the medicine everywhere with the animals that come across you. I remember just seeing the rattlesnakes and the scorpions. At first it's like, oh, right, but then you just drop the fear, and you just appreciate the moment. You feel into the energy of like what is going on, how you're going to relate to that other creature. Yes, it could kill you, right? But you're not, I don't know. I just learned a lot about energy, a lot about group dynamics, what works, what doesn't work. And just, you know, how you can push the boundaries of your own physical strength, how you can achieve more than you thought possible. You know, when you don't think you can hike another couple miles or go any further without water, or, you know, just the power of the human spirit and our willpower and just our determination. And then also, you know, when it's time to stop, when you know you need to stop, like, you know, just how to read situations. I mean, after months of it and years of it, it really just, you know, tuned me up. And I realized, you know, it wasn't so much about necessarily taking people out into the wilderness and doing that for a living, which, you know, I got certified to do, but it was more probably for the bigger mission that I'm here to do. And it was just something that just really helped me, you know, realize like, this is where I thrive. This is where I just feel like myself. And everything about what happened before, just high school or just going through the school systems or just, you know, living in this kind of matrix thing. It's like that whole other world is just a completely different realm compared to this. And I had a really hard time adjusting when I came back out. I didn't know how to handle it. I just didn't want to go back. I just felt like, you know, this is where I feel alive. This is where I feel, yeah, I don't know. So does everybody need to do that? Not necessarily. I mean, you can develop those skills within all of us, but it's just about just slowing down, paying attention, looking at, you know, everything around you, taking the time to just be, you know, in nature and just see, you know, what shows up and what signs and what messages you feel are coming, you know, from that. And to just not have the digital world, right? You have to go into some pretty pristine areas to really get away from it these days, of course. And unfortunately, the places I went were way out away from all that. So just feeling the freedom or just not having that in your face or just always there. Yeah, just it was like I felt like I was in a completely different dimension, but still on the earth. That's when I felt grounded. When I'm in like matrix energy, I'm not in my body. It's like really difficult, like to be, because I'm, you know, maybe it's the empathicness or just the sensitivities, but I just kind of can't. It's sometimes hard to really fully come in. But when I'm out, like in the wilderness, it's just like I feel grounded. I feel present, and yeah, yeah. I
Nature is
don't know.
where I get all the answers from.
Say that again.
Nature is where I get all the answers from. Every day when I wake up now, I've kind of retrained myself to go outside and to see nature and to stop distracting myself with the computer or the cell phone and getting online. And I try to be with nature now. And like, that's where I feel the most peace. Like nothing can replace nature at all. Like I am completely content being alone in nature and just listening and seeing, because it reminds me of the life when I was the wind, one of my past lives. I told you that story before, and like to be part of life's journey and to see the other life around you and to inspire it like wind moves it, like I was telling you last time. I don't know, there's a stillness in it. Like you see the point of living life, and that's where true beauty is. Like to hear the crickets chirp and to see the fish just move in the water, like that is true life. Like life is not material possessions and how much money we can achieve and how much influence we can buy. It's about reconnecting with life, getting back to nature, because when I stopped going on the outside and start searching in the inside, nature gave me everything. Like, look what it taught you just being a wilderness guide. Like, you go through your own dark night of the soul of what you think you're capable of, and nature shows you what you're capable of. And you've got to fight, because nature is a tough bitch. But if you can learn to work with nature, nature will always provide for you. There's abundance everywhere. There's life everywhere, but you have to open your eyes to see it for the first time. Just put your cell phone down. Let your friends, just put your friends in the corner and just do something for you for once. Like everybody wants to distract themselves with, what can I do with other people? Ask yourself this: What do you do for you? We don't do those things anymore. We only want to do things for other people, and we put our own health off. We put our own life off. And I think we have to learn the balance between helping others and helping ourselves, because I lived a lifetime of helping others and I never really helped myself. And being older, it taught me I need to prioritize myself, because if I don't take care of myself now, I'm not going to be around in the long run. I can't help support people in the future if I have nothing but health issues, because I live this life of processed foods and putting stuff in my body that I shouldn't be putting in my body. And that's just generalizing with people. That's why I became vegetarian off almost 10 years ago, why I stopped doing like industrial chemicals almost 20 years ago, like shampoos, chemicals, anything you can buy at the store that's over the counter, I don't touch it. I only put in my body what I want my body to be. And like, that's being the change you want to see in the world. That's how you have to do it from the ground up. Start with yourself.
Absolutely. Yep. Totally. I mean, our physical body is just like the physical planet. If we want to clean up the earth, we got to clean up ourselves and just purify our thoughts, our emotions, tend to every aspect of our elemental self, and commune with nature in order to understand how nature operates, the great intelligence it holds, how it sustains ecosystems and the web of life. And just, yes, I love what you said about just watching. Oh yeah, just observing it and watching it. And it is, to me, like nature is a reflection of our soul essence, the elementals within us, earth, air, fire, water, ether, and all the animal spirit guides and medicine that they represent, and all the healing plants. I mean, Mother Earth has everything we could possibly need to heal. The pharmacy, I mean, I know just everybody knows this already, but when you think of all the side effects that come with just treating one condition, and there are herbs that barely have any side effects. And when you learn about herbs and all that they can do, there's nothing that Mother Earth doesn't provide for us that can't combat the things that we're constantly like plagued with. We're not here to digress and be diseased and just have viruses and constantly have to just be jabbed, or we're here to learn about just the medicine that surrounds us, the unconditional love of the mother, the father energy, the divine template that exists within us to reawaken and to get to know the self is what they are so threatened by. That's why we have to regurgitate everything that we're being told, and to think for ourselves is now, it's being ostracized. So we might have been able to do it along the way, but now it's like, whoa, you guys have figured out way too much. So yeah, it was the outcast or the ADD kid or the drop, whatever those stigmas were, wherever, that, meant for people, except for maybe the arts or the musicians and artists out there like yourself, that had that outlet to express their creativity or their genius through, coming from the mouth, though, questioning these things and returning to earth and nature. You can't fact check creator or Mother Earth. I mean, you can't argue with that. So anybody that thinks trusting that or falling back on that or embracing that is a problem, and that's what's been shocking, just seeing like herbal stores and people in the health fields or that call themselves shamans, like really pushing these narratives lately. And I know I talk about that redundantly too, just people that you wouldn't expect that have really fallen for this. It just shows just how much there is still an attachment, and how much that survival chakra can really get lit up, when really that's just a withdrawal symptom to letting go of something that you have formed a dependency bond with that you actually don't need. Once you move through that uncomfortable aspect of it and you just surrender, trust yourself, and let go, and see that bigger picture of what nature holds and the synchronicities and magic and abundance that you can create just from yourself, that is, to me, the ultimate revelation and really what the true awakening is about.
Yeah, we need more gurus instead of more gurus. There's too many gurus in this field today. Like, you think of ufology, and like, we see a lot of gurus. People, they'll literally dress a certain way and they talk a certain way, but then you see them outside of the show and they're a regular person. And that's very deceiving. And it's that discernment, that inner discernment you were talking about, and you talk about a lot of these things in your new book, which I want to talk about next. But like, people need to stop following people and treating them as gurus and thinking they're gods, because if we're getting to that point in society where we see people above us, we're only going to be followers. People need to become leaders. We need to think of our own ideas. We need to stop talking about the same subjects over and over until the end of history. We have to inspire people that will make real change, people that will fight the system and inspire lawyers to start case laws where we can actually bring us out of all this control. And your book talks about a lot of this, which is coming up in 2 weeks. I'm extremely excited that this book is coming out.
Yeah, March. I think it'll be available.
March 1st, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really just about this. It's like, if you're looking outside of yourself or you think somebody's above you, you might find that you're going to have to deal with some sort of wake-up call. And a lot of times it's in the form of betrayal, or realizing that there's dark things going on behind closed doors, or that person is, pushing something that isn't really beneficial. Not to say that there aren't some good leaders and guides out there, but more often than not, a person's giving their power away to something. And if that leader isn't helping them to rise up and become a leader themselves, which is leading by example, living the best of yourself, following your inspirations, your passions, your inner calling, whatever that looks like, that is leadership. You're leading by example. You're not being, you're not being coerced into something. You're not consenting to somebody else's way. You're standing strong in who you are and hold integrity to hold mutual love and respect for others in their way, and cooperating in order to build community, and in order to pool resources together and skill sets together in order to be able to, take care of our future generations and our children. So, people get really angry in the world and how much betrayal and how much negativity there is, or this person's, evil, or like this next scandal. It's like, well, what is that pushing one to do? Fall back on you. That is the ultimate growth period of humanity. Is, maybe everything is failing us because we're meant to learn to fall back on ourselves and trust ourselves and begin to develop the self. It's the same thing with relationships. If you keep serial dating, or you keep finding yourself again with a narcissist or an abuser or somebody who neglects you or just isn't good for you, why does that keep happening? Did you ever take the time when you were single to really love yourself, to really be able to speak up when you feel like something is wrong, to stand your ground, to say no, and yes, sometimes when that happens, there's trauma, there's abuse, but and those are the horror stories, but the soul remembers that, comes back therefore that much stronger to be able to develop that spiritual immune system and that understanding of like what to avoid, what are the red flags. So we come back over and over again to develop these abilities. But if they keep looking at these psyops, it's actually injuring us even more, to the point where we're not exactly where one would expect us to be, except for those that have really paid attention and done the inner work. So the minute a person begins that process, though, again, it's not going to take that long, and it's worth your while to just, catch up with it before you just, all these overlays completely like mask you from being able to see yourself and what this was all really for.
And that's why you wrote this book.
Yeah, it's Awakening the Truth Frequency. It's a lot about my own story, what I learned about what really happened in the Eisenhower administration, the need to have discernment, the need to question everything. Thank you. Yeah. And just the manipulation of the planetary grids, how that relates to the manipulation of human consciousness. It's like a whole bunch of different things. And I'm very transparent. I talk a lot about the journey I've been on. And just really just hoping that people walk away feeling inspired and feeling encouraged and feeling positive about the future, because it's not about predicting what's going to happen. It's about, what are you going to make happen? What are you calling forth? What are you inserting into the world? What are you creating? What are you transmuting? What are you releasing? What are you deprogramming? Look at those things, because awakening this frequency within yourself is going to help you to navigate the madness, see through the lies and distortions, and know it's in your hands to experience a much more beautiful reality than one that we're being thrown, that is not the true reality at all. And having this one be ridiculed or rejected, is to recognize, so that you no longer fall prey to the manipulation of your self-worth and self-esteem, and what true abundance and wholeness really means. So yeah, it goes pretty in depth to a lot of different topics, and it's taken a lot to pull together, and I hope people enjoy it. I'm really glad it's finally coming out.
Wow, man, what a perfect way to actually close the show, because like that explanation was pretty much the question I was going to ask you. So thank you for summing all that up. Do you have any last advice as we close the show?
Yes. Well, I also talk about junk DNA, what it really is, a lot about galactic history as well. And yeah, just it's an amazing time of self-discovery, getting to know yourself, trusting that we'll always manifest something in our life to throw us into a growth period and an experience that will bring us closer to the truth of who we really are. Don't misunderstand it and let somebody outside of you define it for you, diagnose it or label it, to the point of non-recognition of what it really means and why it's really there. Because everything of adversity and challenge is here to help us to grow and get to know ourselves. And in the face of these challenges, let's choose that versus continually fearing it so that somebody else holds our future and holds our health and wellness and holds our consciousness and our beliefs and our minds and our emotions. That to me is not a way of living. And it's been leveraged, our vulnerabilities, and they've made a lot of money off of it. Doesn't mean that there are not a lot of well-intentioned and good people within that, but let's help encourage them to see how much we need to stand up and participate a lot more in our process of healing. And when we're not included, walk away. You have other options. Do not consent. Put yourself first. Serve what's important for you so you can be of service to all, like you said. And I'll just leave it at that. And thank you so much, Drago. I'm amazed by your new show. I love being your co-host on Rebel Collective and diving into these deeper topics. And this is what it's all about. So
You always blow me away, Laura. Sometimes I just don't know how to follow you. I don't know how to follow up most of the time. Like you feel with me, it's just sometimes it's like your words are so powerful. It's just like, what do you say following something so amazing?
you're so sweet. Oh my gosh. Well, I appreciate that, because I'll probably get off the call and just be like, oh man, I hope that came out okay. So I appreciate your feedback. It's wonderful to be with you.
All right, so people need to definitely follow your journey. Is there any upcoming events coming up soon that we can tell people about?
Yeah, I have an online webinar January 27th from 11 to 1 Pacific time. You can find it on my website, cosmicgaia.org, and all the other events I'll be posting on my website. Mostly online events until March. I'll be coming to Florida. I'll be able to see you at Deerfield, I think it is, Florida.
Yeah, the timelines of disclosure, which is July 8th through
Timelines
11th.
of disclosure, again in Florida in July. We'll be in LA together for alien event, alchemy event, bio, all that. New Living Expo in San Rafael. But I'll keep it updated on my website. So check out my website. I have a subscription there for mini sessions, discounted sessions, Zoom events. It really helps to support the work that I do as well. And I give a lot to make it worth your while. Yeah, that is all on my website. You can become a subscriber or sign up for a free newsletter, find out, what I'm doing and what the latest info is that I'm coming across. Yeah, all that's on my website. And
Thank you for being an awesome guest, Laura.
I'm so thrilled to be your first guest. Thank you for having me, Drago. See you very soon. Much love, everybody.
All right, as we reach the conclusion of our cosmic expedition through portal to another dimension, the echoes of newfound knowledge resonate in our mind. What we've unraveled today is but just a glimpse into that vast unknown, a mere flicker and peek into the royal fabric of Laura Eisenhower's life. But fear not, for our journey is far from its conclusion. The portal lingers, its energies pulsating with anticipation for the next chapter in our cosmic saga. Stay tuned for the sequel, where deeper mysteries await and the cosmic narrative unfolds. Subscribe now and become a companion on this interstellar expedition with me as we jump through different portals to the unknown. The universe's script is ever evolving, and you won't want to miss a single episode. As I begin to slowly close the portal and this chapter ends, remember, Portal to Another Dimension is not just a podcast, it's your portal to the unknown. Until next time, portal jumpers, keep your compasses steady, your curiosity burning, and your spirit attuned to the whispers and frequency of the cosmos. This is Drago, your navigator, bidding you farewell for now. Until next time, may the mysteries of the cosmos continue to beckon you into the unknown until the next cosmic chapter unfolds. I now close the portal to another dimension.